So we have, obviously, as you can see, we have a full daylight studio going today. The sun is really pounding in, so we have to deal with that. We have our slate, we have our gray background left over from last week, a couple clamps holding it in, optional coffee cup, second optional coffee cup, and then a muffin. And I want to talk about depth of field, so I'm going to build a set that is like this. Yeah, let me see wider. There we go. That's zooming in. There's white. Okay, so I want to build a set that's like this, so I have a fair bit of distance from front to back. Okay, and then I'm going to put a stand-in muffin there. I'm going to do something special with it later. Probably eat it because they're very yummy. And if you haven't eaten, I'm probably making you hungry, so I apologize. So blah, 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 that's ready to go. Blah, blah. Take these, maybe put those to the side. Okay, so rough idea of what the set's going to be. I can start with that and go from there. So let's, where am I? Okay, I wanted to talk about lenses and cameras and things like that, right? Okay, so you're lucky, for those of you who are lucky enough, you are lucky to be in the Toronto area. You can now do takeout. You can now do takeout. You can now do curbside pickup from Sheridan. You won't be able to pick up this stuff because it's Nikon, but there's a whole bunch of lenses that are really good. So you can take out more than just the kit lens that you have. You have a kit lens that's similar to this one, which is a zoom, which is a 24 to, this one's a 24 to 85. I think you have a 24 to 105. So you have something that's wide to just slightly long. So you can see my face there. So that's helpful, you know, wide architecture shooting, things like that. Long, whatever you want. So we consider that a portrait lens or something like that. The choice of focal length, as we said before when we were shooting the HomePods, is really important. It really changes the way the set looks. It changes the proportion of things to each other. It changes the compression of space. It changes the relative object size to each other, things like that. It changes depth of field. Something I did notice on the last assignment, some people are still shooting with very wide lenses for this kind of stuff, which is fine because it can create an interesting look. However, you're pulled back and you're getting a ton of depth of field. So when you're shooting the minimal depth of field shot, you're not actually getting minimal depth of field. You're getting it even at f5.6. You're getting, with a wide angle lens, you're going to have like a foot or so in focus. When you're talking selective focus, you're looking at just wanting to focus just on the front of this thing, nothing back or front like that. We don't want a label. We don't want to see the muffin in focus. We don't want to see the cup in focus. We're just looking at a thin slice through here. So the choice of lens really controls that. And 85 on this limits your depth of field wide open at 5.6, probably about 4 or 5 inches, or maybe even 6, depending how close you are. Then again, there's lenses like this guy. Okay, let me just get it off. There we go. Poof. Okay, so that little camera there. All right, so this one is also a zoom. Is at 80 to 400. Wow! So it's a very big lens. It would be considered normally like a sports lens or something like that. It is very long and it's designed to shoot stuff far away. We've talked about this one before. The minimum focusing distance on this is like 9 feet. So I have to be 9 feet away from my subject before I can even get it in focus. So that requires a fair bit of space, which we have here luckily today. But however, at 400, the depth of field wide open on this lens, which is I think is about 5.6, is literally about the width of a finger, or even less than that. So that allows me to be really selective. So if I wanted to get very selective in my focus, use a longer lens. The interesting things about a lens this size, okay, so the school has a number of them, is that they don't mount the way normal smaller lenses do. So this is actually a pretty heavy lens. It actually weighs more than the camera. If you were put it on here and then put the tripod plate on the bottom of the camera, the pressure on the mount of the camera would be so much that it would actually start to bend, which isn't really good, because if you're trying to support this weight with that tiny little camera, it's not great. So what they've done is they've thought about that and put this fancy mount, which I've also put the tripod head onto. Come on, get off. See if I can take it off. So these big lenses come with, I can't take it off because it's there. Okay. Come with a ring like this. Okay, and with a little shoe on there, you mount the tripod plate on it, and what that does is it transfers the weight from the lens onto the tripod plate. So you're actually carrying the weight of the camera with the lens, not the opposite way around. So it's much easier to deal with. The other fancy thing about when you do that is there. The other fancy thing about when you do that is that normally you mount the camera like this. Let me just make sure you can see that. Yeah, I'm going to go down. Okay. Normally the camera mounts on the tripod like that, blop. And then you would turn the tripod to show to do a vertical shot. Whereas with this way, I get to just go release this a little bit. And then I can rotate, with everything that's not in the way. I can rotate the camera like that. And that keeps it in exactly the same orientation, which is nice, so I can flip from horizontal to vertical very easily. And again, the weight is supported on the lens, not on the camera. So we have a couple lenses like that in the cage. I think we have a 400, and then we have a 100 to 400 push-pull zoom lens, and we have a couple other things like that that are kind of cool. So that's how you mount them. So when you sign them out, that's how you do it. Okay, so that being said, let's go mount it on the monopod over there. I'm going to move my light. Okay, come with me. All right, here we are. Messy studio. I gotta clean up things. Okay, so tripod mounts. There. Okay, so there we are. That's the studio. Now we have to be this far away from that table because of that lens, because it has a minimum focusing distance of 8 feet or 9 feet. So you can see that we're way over there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the lens, like that, vertical, because I want to shoot vertical, because I just default to vertical. Then I've got the tether tools here, thingamabob ready to go, the cable. You guys should sign up to get your, excuse me, your free, well, you paid for it, tether tools, tether cable. I believe they've got more in now, I hope. If not, if you don't get it this year, don't worry, you'll probably get it if you've already got your own and you want to wait until next year and not have to deal with the hassle. They'll have for you in September, so for sure. I have this thing here to make sure that it doesn't come out, because as I said before, the plug to your camera is the thing that's going to break first. And now I'm going to add, because we're doing video from it, we're going to just add the AC plug into it, and then I can turn it on. There, magic, done. Okay, so that's ready to go. I'm going to zoom out, because I need to be in there. Okay, so here we have the set in tight, and let's look at the way it's lit here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to flip it, so hold on. Weep. Now we're going roughly the way that the camera sees it. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a number of horizontal lines, horizon lines going through there. We have a lot of backlight coming in from behind. It's creating that highlight across our coffee pot there. Creates a little bit of highlight on the, where is it, on here, on the coffee mug, and a rim light on the top. But we're not seeing anything coming forward. If we go up, the horizon lines change. We see more into the coffee cup. So this is where about choosing that angle that we want to use. We come down. It really, with this lens particularly, it features the coffee cup a lot. I don't want to do that. I want to come probably up from a slight angle, so we see. But we have that 1, 2, 3 progression of we have this horizon at the back of the slate, and then the back of the table, and then on the one on the window. Those are distracting as heck. So let's try and eliminate some of those. Because you can see, like, coming up too high, coming down too low. That's not bad. But the line in there, back there, not good. Okay, so let's, flipping again. Woo! Okay, so beep. There, so wide shot. Let's go to shooting tethered. Okay, so that's charging. I got too many things plugged in there. Okay. All right, so one of the things I want to cover, other than the next thing I want to cover, I should say, is going to be what I want to cover. I want to cover setting up your Capture One folders. There's most of you guys have been, particularly this section, you guys are wicked good, eh? If you're from New Zealand, go sweet as. So it's wicked good on creating your file structure, which is great because that's really huge. It's really important to do. It's really important to get organized about that stuff. I mean, Raf and I kind of hit you guys over the head over and over again about shooting this kind of thing or paying attention to this kind of thing. There's a number of really important reasons too. One, it makes my and Raf's life a lot easier to deal with because if you guys get your folder structure right, I know exactly where to look for all the files and I don't have to go, what is this one? I don't know. So folder structure and naming is important on that level. It's also important because it's an amazingly useful skill, okay? So when you go to get your first job at a studio or anywhere shooting, they're gonna ask you some ridiculous, HR question like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What animal are you if you were in the forest? And the other one will be, what are your strengths? And one of the strengths that you want to tell them is that I am really organized. I am so good at keeping things nice and neat and tidy. If you're not, lie, because I'm not. I'm good at adapting is what I say. So they have a system in the studio that they're going to go to. They want you to conform to it. They want you to build on it. They want you to improve on it if you can. They want you to keep them organized because that's kind of like your job. When I hire an assistant, I really appreciate them to be organized for me because I need them to do that so I can focus on focusing, focus on lighting, focus on chatting up the client, all those things that I need to do on set. If I'm concerned about how the files are built or what they're doing, it's a lot harder to deal with. So that's really important to have as a skill. So that's kind of why we hit you over the head. What we want to do is set you up as a baseline, sort of a standard that's right across the program. That's right, that we feel is a good place to start in organizing yourself when shooting. This you can then, once you've gone through this and understood its importance, you can then go and add to it your own experience, okay, your own way of organizing things. If you're working for a client and they need you to organize files, like if you're working in a studio or if you're working for somebody like me, I will tell you the way I want you to organize things. If you're working at home, you have to develop a system that works for you. There has to be a system because if you don't have a system, you're going to be lost and you're not going to be able to organize or find or export or process the files that you need to. As I'm sure you've found out, it's not as simple as like, just airdropping it from your phone. It's much more complicated these days, particularly when we're asking for multiple versions and multiple different, exports and all that sort of stuff is really important. So it is a good idea to get this right. So I'm going to go over it one more time and bore you guys senseless, I'm sure. So let's screen share. I'm going to do desktop. There we go. Okay, so we don't need the printer open. Okay, so what we're going to do is start up with Capture One. There we go. It's going to start up and we're going to set up the folder structure. So this is the shot yesterday. Here, this is what we did yesterday. Really nice. I'm impressed. I impressed myself. So we'll walk through something like this today. So that off. Okay. So now what we do, we want to start a session, right? Because as I have said before, the session is what we want. What is the simplest? So it's one shot for one assignment, or one assignment, one session. Everything that you need for that assignment should be done inside that session. Everything that we need to mark you with should be inside that session, so it's nice and simple. So let's start that session now. Let's do a new session, not a catalog. Okay, so when you get to school, when you get to the studio, you will have a whole bunch of stuff available to you. You have your camera, you will have your camera, but you can also sign out lenses. You can obviously sign out lights and other things like, we even have like ice cubes, we have backdrops, we have some propping things and stuff like that. We have clamps, all sorts of things. It's a huge assortment. There's a massive amount of stuff in there in that photo security. You can also sign out studio computers, which is great. So they have in the school MacBook Pro 16-inch 2019 versions, which are top end, decked out. They'll have Capture One. They might have Photoshop on them in the studio. They're going to be great. When you sign one out, you open it up and you get a log in as a student. You have two users there. There's an admin, obviously, that's locked out. And then there's the student. And they are basically just shooting computers. They're designed just to be shooting. So they have Capture One and maybe Photoshop. You want to file your information for your shots, your pictures. You want to store them somewhere. Don't put them on the desktop. The desktop is likely to get wiped or erased very quickly. I always either put them into an external hard drive, but because they are MacBook Pro 16-inch 2019s, they'll only have two ports. One will be taken by your camera, and one will be taken by the power supply. So external hard drives are not really going to be an option unless you bring your dock with you, and then there's a whole bunch of other things going on there, which you're probably going to have to anyway because your cords are going to be for the old computers. Oh my God. So many cord issues. So pictures. I'm going to put it into pictures. That's what I normally do for all my shoots. It's because it's where the pictures go. It's pretty simple. So pictures go to pictures. So I make a folder there, and I'm going to keep the standard structure. So this is what you have to have in your thing. So I'm going to open up pictures here so we can see it as I create it. And you can see the two sessions from yesterday. What we're going to do, this is important. You name this session now. You don't call it Untitled 1. You don't call it Test Shot 5. You name it according to the assignment or to the client or the shot that you're doing. Because what this does is it names all the folders inside it properly. So let's call it. What are we going to do? We're P3, right? Underscore Waller. That's me today, right? Okay. Underscore Andrew. And then what is this? We're going to do this as we said assignment 4. So let's underscore assignment 4. Okay, there we go. Done, ready to go. If you look down here, it is also naming the shot's going to be that. I'm going to put an underscore at the end of that, and I'll show you why in the end. And there's a reason for that. So there, and then go, okay. And there it is. Whew, it disappeared quickly, but there it is. It's now. And now we have the session ready to go. I'm going to hide this guy. There we go. Hide the floating thing. So what do I need to do? Nothing else, because that's the setup that I have. I'm ready to go. So let's check the camera. Oh, the camera's not plugged in. Wow. Okay, so then this happens a fair bit, and it's basic IT stuff. Even if it's plugged into the computer, sometimes the two don't recognize each other. Sometimes you lose a file somewhere in the mix, and connectivity is an issue, particularly if you're going to be using things like dongles, or you have to do adapters to get to your computer. Somewhere along the line, there could be some data information lost. And if that happens, the camera disconnects. That's one of those things. So you have to troubleshoot it. So you go back to the camera, you turn it on and off. You go back, connect, make sure the connection's stable and solid inside, going from the cable to your camera, make sure that that cable is all the way traveled through, nobody stepped on it. Then you make sure that this end, where is it? This end is plugged in, which it isn't. So I'm going to plug that in. And let's see if it wakes up. Pop, pop. Is the camera on? I have to go check the camera. I'm going to go check the camera. Yep, camera's on, plugged in. Tell me it's there. Okay, it should be there. Why isn't it there? It's still thinking. Are there any other windows open? No, just the one. Okay, so that's not there. So what I'm going to do now is troubleshoot. So I'll check the connectivity. I'll check the camera over there, and I will check one thing else. I'll turn the camera on and off again. Sometimes there is a picture stuck in the pipes somewhere. Okay, so the process is that when the camera takes a picture, it goes to the sensor, the light comes in the sensor, it goes through the image processor, and then it goes to what's called a buffer. So inside your camera, there's a bunch of memory that holds pictures and then pushes them out to the media, either to the SD card or whatever card you're using, or to the computer, depending on where it needs to go. Sometimes something gets stuck in that buffer, okay? So you can, usually the buffers are either from 10 to 30 shots, depending on what camera you're using. If it fills up 10 shots, it then slowly trickles out the thing back to the media. The idea is that the buffer reads the sensor really fast and gets the information out of the way for the next picture faster than your media would, okay? If you have slow media, your buffer can fill up and you can sort of stall out. The camera won't take any more pictures until the buffer empties a little bit, okay? So sometimes there's something stuck in there. The only way to get something out of that is to actually turn off the camera, not even turn off the camera. Sometimes you just have to take the battery or the power out of the camera and then connect it later. So let's go and try that. So over here, turning off. Where's it all wobbly? Go, because it's that crappy head. Turning off, I'm going to take the battery out effectively. Beep, disconnect, plug back it in. Boop. So that's emptied the buffer if there's anything in there. And on. Camera's on. Let's see if we connect over here. And I'm going to disconnect the USB cord and I'm going to plug it back in. Hopefully it sees the software and everything goes together. Come to Papa. It did it fine yesterday. Gotta check the connections. The camera works. Camera's plugged in. Buffer's plugged in. Well, if that case doesn't work, let's try quitting the software. With the camera plugged in and turned on, let's try turning it on again. Sometimes you just gotta be, sometimes they've had a fight, the camera and the computer, and they don't want to talk to each other. Oh, there it is, coming in now. See? They just need time. Get used to each other again. Sometimes you've been away for a while, it's like you're a different person altogether. So you gotta get used to each other. So now they're back used to each other, thank God. Okay, so let's do something here. Let's just guess the exposure. We're just going to guess at the exposure coming in based on the light meter. The camera set at manual. I've set the ISO to 100. I want to keep it low because I want to keep the quality in. The cameras these days are better at handling higher ISOs, but I want to make sure that we got a decent ISO here. So, because we want to keep the quality all the way along, and I don't want to adjust things with the ISO. I want to keep it at 100. So let's open it up because I want to have it pretty wide open. Oh, that's the shutter speed. Let's open it up. 5.6, wide open. Shutter speed. We're going to put it at 100. It's telling me we're overexposed, right? Because that's what this thing here is, a meter. And so let's take a picture. I don't even know what I'm pointing at. Well, there we go. It's beautiful. We're done. And done. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. It's been great talking to you. See you later. Bye. The shot is not done. Got to get onto that. Okay, so how do we get onto that? Let's maybe line up the camera. Look through it. I think we should probably look through the camera now. Okay, we're now on live view, which is kind of fun. And I'm going to find out where we are. Okay, there we are. Focus, right? Focus. Woo! Okay, so we're at 400 mil. You can see how little depth of field we are. I'm going to back it off a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'm focused on the front of the coffee maker. Okay, so, then we're also kind of crooked, right? Let's look at that. So it tells me my camera's level. I'm not quite square to the table. So I'm going to do that by adjusting my tripod. Squaring it up. I'm locking everything down again so that nothing moves. Last thing I want on this shot is to have to reset it because things have moved. And now, am I a little more level? Yeah. But I'm also, the table's crooked. Oh, so I'm going to tilt the camera to this, line up to the horizon on the table. And then here. And I'm firing the computer, or firing the camera from the computer because I don't want the camera to move at all. There, okay. So that's not bad. But is it well exposed? So exposure is a really important thing to judge. There is a point where, like, this is, to say that there's a proper exposure, it's more about what it feels, it needs to look like. You need to have all the information there, you need to have everything rendered the way you want to. What's important in this shot is not the background, and the meter's telling me that I'm perfectly exposed. Look at that, plus or minus 0, done. The thing up here is reading me out at 0, perfect, right in the middle of the exposure valuation thing. I must be right? No, because this is important. All this bit here, the shadow stuff. So I want to expose for the shadows. So this is where figuring out what the decent or the usable exposure is. So it's a matter of basically hunting this exposure all the way up from under to over and then pulling it down. So the way I do it is basically, I do have a sense of where it goes, and I need to know where it goes by years of experience. But if you're just starting out, what you want to do is you want to sort of hunt that exposure from, it's undoubtedly going to start usually underexposed or maybe, and then move it all the way up to where it looks like it's normal, and then go just a little past it to see what overexposed looks like in terms of, is it rendering everything you need to? And then you pull it back down. So I want to place my highlights, the highest, brightest point, exactly where I need them to be, and then bring it down a tiny little bit so I have exposure. So what I want to say with this is, like, 5.6 at 100th of a second, this is not well exposed because I'm not seeing anything in here. If I were to go in here and edit it, and I would bring it up, I've got to bring it up maybe 3.5, 4 stops to get some detail in here. At that time, I'm losing all this stuff. Part of it is I'm pushing this file far too far. So let's try and do that with the camera first and see where we go. So they're going to start up by moving from 100th of a second onwards. Oh, another thing is to give yourself a solid normal point, something that you know is supposed to be well exposed. So yes, I can look at this shot and say, okay, it looks decent. I know where it should look like. I could try it, or you could use one of these guys, right? So we have our color checker, all right? I'm going to put that in there into the shot, and it's going to be my standard, because you have here on your color checker, you have a standard wedges of gray here from white to black. You have all these things in here that are standard colors, and they tell you how the color is rendering on your photograph. You have on this side, on this passport, you have the colors again, and then the grayscale up that side. These ones in the middle are about tuning their presets for the for color balance. They can make the photograph slightly warmer, they can make it slightly cooler. They can use them, they're usable. Over here, we know we have the standard gray card. I don't use that as much as I should sometimes, but I basically use this side here with all the gray wedges that tell me. There is an actual number that this white's supposed to be. It's around 240 to 220, I think. There's an actual number that this black is supposed to be. It's around 25, it's from 10 to 25, depending on what you're looking at. Those give me two things. They will give me one, obviously, the color balance that I need to shoot with, or that I can shoot with. They neutralize the lighting. And they also give me an exposure that gives me a sense of where that exposure is. I have to be, for a good exposure, I have to be able to see each one of these little steps individually. I have to see the difference between this white one and this really, really, really light gray one. I have to see the difference between this black one and this really, really, really dark gray one, okay? So those have to be there for a good exposure. So I'm gonna go put this on set. Facing the camera, because that's the stuff that I want to have most importantly, and featuring the gray card part predominantly. Oh, I'm gonna click on the right folder. Click, because the histogram looks normal, but I can't see any of those step wedges, obviously. So let's start moving that exposure up. So let's go up a full stop. So 1/100th full stop more is 1/50th of a second. Oh, I still can't see those step wedges all the way. So let's go up another stop. Let's go from a 50th to a 25th of a second. We're increasing the amount of time, doubling it every time. Okay, we're getting there. The histogram is pushing itself. I'm going to ignore that because the background is really bright. I want to place my midtones exactly where they need to go. The highlight that I'm concerned about is going to be on the coffee maker. So let's go forward some more. So 25th goes to half of that, or double half of that is 13th-ish. There. Okay, so now I'm starting to see a separation in here between the black and the gray, the white and the black, the white and the light gray. So let's go again. I'm going to go another one. I'm going to 13th. I'm going to go to a 6th, which is half of that, double that length rather. Sorry, half that exposure. Okay, so now I see lots of detail, but I'm losing my coffee cup or coffee maker like crazy because it's glass, and the highlights in the back are insane. Look at that histogram. So look at the histograms as we go back through that. So back down here, we got some information. We're getting more information here. We're getting even more information here. We're getting lots of information evenly across here, and we're getting well exposed. We're starting to push the edge of that highlight, slamming up the other side. So that's too much. This is way too much, but we're getting a ton of information. We can see this easily in here. What do I need to do with this? Well, I need to fill in the front, okay? So lucky for me, I have this light. Hold on. So you can do this with lights, or you can do this with, where are we going? Oh, you can't see. We're on that. Why are we on that? We're not sharing. So I told you all that stuff and we're not sharing. We're gonna walk through that again. So let's look at that. So what we did, you didn't tell me I wasn't showing the right thing, people. Just yell at me, feel free. It also means that you're still alive and I don't have to call the police to say that you're passed away watching my class. Okay, so out of focus, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here, card. Look at the histogram on that. So it's slightly over to the right. The camera's telling me that it's normal, but it's not. Moving up in exposure, we're getting evenly across the gamut of the histogram. Highlights and shadows there, but it's still not, because we're not getting separation between the blackest black and the dark gray. We're opening up a little more. It's beginning to push a little further over to the right. Opening up a little more. Okay, we're now seeing difference between the black wedge and the next gray. That's pretty good. We could make the white a little brighter. Let's see where it take it any further. Okay, so we got tons of color in there, but we're losing the background. Okay, so there's our sort of first step. What I want to do is that was at F13. What I want to do now is go on set and add a light to fill in the front so that we can even out the pressure from the back, all that daylight coming through, to front to what we need in the foreground. So let's go to the hop. Go to the studio camera. Okay, so there's the studio camera. I have, lucky for me, hold on. There we go. Lucky for me, I have a light here. Look at that, amazingly so. So I want to get light into the front. I'll take the lens away because we don't need it there. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this light from the side. I'm not going to relight it from the front per se, but it's going to come in from the side just slightly, as I'm sure you're seeing in the camera now. There. Okay, so we're getting them in quite close. Let's look at the set. Okay, so that's in quite close. Why is it quite close? Because it's about the proportion. I want this light to be very soft. I want this light to be very broad and a fill light. If it's far away, it becomes a tiny light, but in here I want it to be powerful and close. So we go there. And I want to get in that close because I want it to light all of this here and all of that. And that requires this huge space here. And even that black thing's going to be a bit of a pain. So let's put the studio camera. Where am I going to put you guys? I'm going to put you back on set. You can watch things from here. Okay. Back to sharing the desktop. Okay. So here we are. That's where we are now. Let's take the next picture. Okay, so ton more light. Now we can back this off a little bit. We got lots of separation in that. Let's reduce that exposure down to 1/10 of a second. Okay. Even exposure. This is obviously blown out still. Let's go down to a 1/15. Okay, so now we're getting back in there. Okay, so we're getting some detail in there. Now this is usable. We're at 246, 247. Let's look at the warnings. Okay, so definitely better than, say, this one. We're getting better. We can now get in there and we can start to tune it a little bit. I'm not going to bring down exposure. I'm going to bring down brightness a little bit, and then I'm going to bring down highlights. There we go. And maybe a little bit of my whites to bring it in. So now we're starting to see, I'm not so concerned about the color of the wall in the back because that's all going to be white anyway, and I've got a plan for that. I'm more concerned about the structure of this coffee maker. That's what I want to call it. So the coffee maker's there. Okay, so now I'm close enough now that I can get a color balance. So I'm going to use this card. I've judged the exposure well. Judging at this is fairly close to white. It's at 174. It could go up a little brighter if I took it up to the next one, like it's brighter like this. It is up at 213. I'm just losing too much in the background. I'm going to have to solve that somehow. So this one, 134, 173 is pretty good. The black one is at 36. Could be a little darker. So we're kind of, we're kind of close. Okay, so now what I want to do is close enough for me to now to create a color balance, to standardize the color, knowing that this is roughly the light that I'm going to start with. Now I want to do a color shot here quickly, just by taking an eyedropper tool, going from white balance, and I'm going to go into here. And I want to check in constantly all the way through this photographic process. So I'm going to keep the color card close by, because as I move other lights in or change modifiers, maybe the lighting conditions are going to change a little bit. So I want to be able to confirm that I'm still getting neutral, because I can watch the color shift, and you'll see it shift over the time. So that's good to go. I'm going to now turn off the gamut warnings and take out the color card. So I can now start to look at the composition. So color card put aside, but not far away. Just on the studio stand here. Okay, so now I can see, let's look at the composition. Okay, so not half bad. This guy needs to move somewhere. This guy needs to move. Oh, what is going on with these things? Okay, so I've got this horizon line again. We talked about this horizon line, and then there's this horizon line. So already it's kind of confusing with multiple places to, confuse the eye. I want to avoid that. So how do I avoid that? If we look at the set, here, wait. We look at the set over here from the bird's eye view. Whoa. We can see, okay, so we have the front of the table. We're not seeing that. The crop is somewhere here. Then we have the back edge of this tile, and then we have the back edge of the table. And if we were high enough, we'd see the back edge of the window. So I want to avoid that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not using the front edge here very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the tile to the back of the table to avoid seeing these two lines here. So let's do that. I can do that now because I still haven't set up everything permanently yet. Okay, so there. Now we're right at the back of the table. So when we're shooting from down here, we're only having one horizon line, which is nice and simple. So, and I wanted to move this guy to here, this guy forward, and this guy handle maybe there. And now we're going to take a picture. sneeze. Whew. It's the sunshine. Okay, oh, out of focus, right? Because I moved it out of focus, that's why. Well, maybe I want to reframe this, right? That's a probably good idea. Okay, so just focusing in there. And I'm going to frame up. Actually, before I frame up, I'm going to do this. Where did I put that? Okay, measuring tape. This measuring tape is to talk about depth of field. Okay, so I'm going to put the measuring tape in the shot. And we're going to have it on the table so we can see it close. Now, let's look at the live view from the camera. Okay, so there we are, live view. It's dark because it's shooting off the video, not the exposure for the, not the long exposure for the, what is it, the other picture? The still image. Okay, so let's watch. Now this is back focused on the coffee pot. The coffee pot, I can see through the camera that I have about 1.5 inches of depth of field on the tape measure. So I can move that depth of field, stuff that's in focus, all the way to the front. Right? So little tiny increments. So it goes from about 1 inch of depth of field focus all the way back when the coffee pot's in focus to about 1.5 inches. And that's how little depth of field I have because I'm using the 400 mil lens. If I zoom in, I think I'm zoomed out a little bit. I'm going to go to the 400. I'm going to just turn it sideways a little bit so you can watch that depth of field. It's even less with the 400. I have maybe 1/4 inch of actual focus. Then you can see moving up and down that measuring tape. So the 400 really reduces my depth of field significantly. And if I focus just on the coffee pot and then aim up, I now make a hero out of this thing because of the compression of that space. Okay, take that away. Okay. So now that's pretty good. So let's close that and now take a picture. So this is at 400 mil. So we're really in there quite close. Let's take off those annotations. Come back. Yeah, gone. So now I can look at see how little is actually in focus? This is wide open. We're at 5.6 on here. So we're actually just, you know, if I zoom in to 100%, I'm actually only have, what is actually in focus? Just like this tiniest little piece here. And it looks like the back side of, you can see the dirt on the inside of that. We can just see the sharp edge of that part of it. So I want to actually walk it out a little further towards me. Okay, so now it should be, according to my careful, right on this leather strap. There. So just that only. Actually, it's just the glass behind it. So that's how little it is. You can see this is sharp and this glass behind it is sharp. You can see everything and the soft edge. So that's kind of like a little too little depth of field. So, but it's really selective. Capture One also has a neat little thing we can show the focus. So the focus is literally right here, right? So I want it to be a little more than that. So let's actually go down a stop to from 5.6 to f8 in exposure. and in aperture rather, and now I'm going to keep the exposure the same. So that means I have to increase the amount of time that it's open. So from a 1/15 of a second to an 1/8 of a second, we should have exactly the same exposure, but yep, more depth of field. There we go. So we go from this to this. A little change, a little darker on the first one, but I don't mind going up a little bit. But there, wow, so much sharper. F8 on this lens is so sharp. And it's really, you know, really good at judging exactly where it needs to go. So that's pretty good. I can see that I need to clean. So this is what I should have Windexed the inside of this too. Saves me a lot of time in post-production. So I'm going to, at this point, look at the composition. So this is a funny line. This muffin behind there is going to disappear, and I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to bring the muffin around. Put it there, and I'm going to bring that down, hopefully. The leather strap I'm going to bring down. It's probably going to go back up, but we'll see. Well, let's watch that. Coffee would be a good idea, right? So the muffin, so this is when intersecting lines and the edges of the frame are really important. So a lot of people, when they first start out, back off the exposure a little too much. Or not the exposure, back off the framing. They tend to pull back and not get in really tight or get close to an object. What's really important about photography is not just where the subject is, but where the intersection of lines of where the person is where the crosses the outside frame. So the frame of the picture is really important. So this where it's in the middle is important, but also where the crop is, where you're choosing to limit the view with the camera. So very conscious of the outside edges of your pictures, right? So it's the one thing that I suggest everybody does when they first pick up a DSLR camera, and even any camera, your iPhone or whatever. Don't just look at the subject matter that you're focusing on. You know, the computer can do that. Look at the edge, the outside edge, where the line of that frame intersects. Look at the lines where the two objects connect. In here, this is where the two objects connect in here. So looking at, let me hide that, it keeps getting in my way. Looking at where these objects connect here, okay? Looking at where this line is going. Looking at, whoa, come back. Looking at this line here, interacting with this one here. This space is kind of awkward and confusing. This line crossing the frame is really important. This line where the frame edge comes down on this is really important. The basic shape of the coffee maker is fine. We have a fair bit of definition between the edges, which is pretty cool. But this space in here, with all the lines drawn on it, is kind of confusing, okay? So let's just get in here and fix that. So I'm going to push that over, maybe. So where lines are like touching or just slightly touching, there's a lot of tension there. But maybe if you pull it out, it's good, or if you bisect it or cut the edge of something with something instead of just being really close. Now we're getting rid of that tension and we're putting it into where the two meet there. So that's better, okay? We've also gained a little bit of definition on the edge. We can add an extra muffin, because I've got extra muffins, lucky me. On the back here, I'm going to take it out of its wrapper, and I'm going to break it because it's going to look really cool. Because this is styling, man. Food styling. Food stylist, $700 a day. If you're a good food stylist, up to $2,000 a day to be a food stylist. That's just making food look good. There, so now it's a little confusing as to what it is in terms of a lump of stuff, but it's a little better, I think. We can work on that. So it's a good starting place for me. There. Okay, so now we got this relatively complicated shape that I might have to sort out. We got this interesting shape here with the cup, and we got this interesting shape here with the coffee maker. So that is, for me, is a good start. Okay, I'm going to add the. We're going to go to the on-set camera, and I'm going to add the coffee on the set. Okay, so let's look at the set. Okay. So this is what the set looks like from roughly camera angle. You can see the distances involved, okay, which is nice. And we're only seeing that horizon line, one horizon line, and I'm going to come in here with, where did I put the coffee? There's the coffee. I'm going to carefully pour what's left of my morning coffee in here. Now that's not very much, right? And it's still steamy. So I'm going to add to that more water. I'm in the washroom now. You can hear it. Okay, there, that'll be enough. I don't want to fill it too much. I also want to realize that having it slightly less opaque than coffee, not as dark and not as steamy right now, will probably be a good idea because it's going to let light through. Okay. So you can see that now. All right, I'm going to move the camera, move the studio camera. Whee! There we go. You see the front door. Let me know if anybody comes to the door, okay? I'm expecting some packages. Not beer today. I'm expecting a monitor and a new computer mouse. FedEx tells me they're coming today. So there we are. Okay, so I need to add more coffee. Yeah, I should, because it doesn't quite look like coffee, it looks like tea. But it's adding some atmospheric effect, which is kind of cool. So we have this nice, actually not half bad shot. So I like the colors here. So what is this highlight here? It's not the softbox, I guarantee you. This here, this reflection here, go away, there we go. This reflection here, I want to just use another color, red. This reflection here is the softbox. This reflection here is the window that's back there, that door. If you're looking at the studio, a little tiny picture of the studio camera in the corner, that door is reflecting in this thing here. It's also reflecting here. It's also reflecting here on the inside of that and a little bit in here. So that's that angle of incidence. The next thing is that angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. Okay, so we're getting there. So stop the share. Okay, so we're getting there. So this guy, if we look here, I'm going to get that down here. Woo. The gimbal doesn't want to behave. Okay, it doesn't like getting low. So you can see that highlight on the coffee pot is actually that door over there. The highlight on the top of the cup, what we saw, is actually this softbox here. So the softbox, this here, part of it, is bouncing off that there, okay? The light on the edge of this is this doorway over here, okay? So that angle comes in, bounces out, and then goes to the camera. This goes in here, bounces out, and then goes to the camera. So where you place the lights is really important to understanding, obviously how it's lit. So if we look at the set from back here where the camera is, we can see that we're getting a lot of light from that window, okay? So do we want that? Yeah, maybe it looks nice. If we're looking at making a lifestyle image, the fill is the high key. The key light is the window light. The fill light is this big softbox. And I'm not flattening it by filling it from the front, I'm filling it from the side. There's a general aspect to the crossing of the thing, of the sort of the lights all coming from the right, which is kind of neat because we end up with something that looks like that, right? Minus all the drawings on it. The muffin, the connections, we'll have to work on that. It's a little bit heavy on the brown side. We could, let's try a couple options here. Though let's try an option now before we make everything permanent. Let's try an option with moving that muffin, first of all. That prop muffin here, because this thing up here is like way too big and it's interacting with this guy here. So I'm going to lower it and then put it there. And this is the thing, right? So photography, like, it's never the same thing twice. It's never the simple way of doing things. It's always going to be more complicated than you expect. You plan for something like this. I plan to do a coffee pot shot, and then you just work that shot as quickly or as efficiently as possible, slowing down to look at everything. Okay, so we've gotten rid of, but we've brought down the composition too by getting rid of the muffin there. It's kind of like, this had a nice line that went like this, up, but now it's kind of like flat across there. So maybe I want to do something different with that muffin, not just drop it down. I'm gonna maybe try it upside down in the top. And it's just this is playing around. So I'm playing around with composition. I've kind of nailed the exposure. I've nailed the focus point. I haven't touched the camera at all anymore. The camera's just a dumb recording device. Okay, so no, this is kind of interacting there. So I've nailed the focus point. I've done that. I don't have to do anything else. I'm just thinking about where this muffin goes. Stay there. I mean, and also I don't have to worry too much about what's back there because it's out of focus, right? But I want to have that nice shape back there. Okay, so that's getting there. Let's get rid of all these lines so we can not have to see them. There. It's a bit messy. So, and I'm working the thing. So the camera's set, the exposure's set. Now all I need to worry about is the actual composition, which is kind of neat to do. Okay. Now maybe what I need back there is not necessarily a change in the composition of the object. Maybe I just need more light back there. Okay, so for that case, why don't I do this? Maybe I want to just put a little bit of sparkle in there to separate, to make it so that it's not just a big dark blob, but there's actually some highlights in there that we can look at. So let's look at going to the Studio Cam, and I want to put light. I want to put light across this. Okay, so if I wanted to dapple this with light, I could shoot a light from here, but that would be really flat because it would come from this front. I want to come from the side. I'm going to take this light. Drag all the cables over, because who doesn't like cables? And I'm going to try and use it as a little bit of a focus beam, which is odd for a light like this. I'm going to shoot right in your face. I'm sorry about this, guys. I'm going to go plop. There. Ah, blinded. Okay, and I probably, you know what? I really want to lower this. But let's see. I'm just going to try and aim it right across the back of that. And if you look, I'm using the barn doors here to narrow that beam of light down so that it feels a little more, focused. You can see, oh, you can't see because you're looking at the softbox. You can see the change when I move the barn doors in and out, right? So I can have a hard light or soft light, and I can have a hard light. Soft light, hard light. I'm gonna leave it hard and see where it goes. And then we're gonna put you guys over here. Now you can see a little bit of the specular highlights coming through. I mean, the secret is that we're lighting from behind. There's no lights over here by the camera. There's everything's behind there. And we're gonna see what it looks like now. And this is the fun part, is you get to sort of see where it comes from. And we get to see where it goes and what it does. Oh, okay. So that little bit of light, just there. Okay, so it's taken that from being a dark, closed-in, lump of muffin to bright, and we added a little bit of streak and some color in there. I actually like that a heck of a lot. I'm going to try and make it brighter. I'm going to bring it in closer. I'm going to see that because it's an LED, I can increase the exposure on it. So that's at full power now. I'm going to bring it in a little closer because there's my third basic law of physics. The closer the light, the brighter it is. It's called the inverse square law. That if you take a light, double the distance, you're halving the light. If you shorten the distance or cut it in half, you're doubling the light. So there we go. That's interesting, eh? So I turned that up and moved it closer. So I added an extra stop. So that's kind of cool. I'm liking that a lot. So styling things is now what I want to do. So I like the composition. I like this 1, 2, 3 thing here. I like the light that's happening in the background. I like the light that's happening on the floor. I like the density of light that's on the color or on the white on the background. Styling things I can now change. If I was doing this shot for reals, I would for sure have darker coffee in there. Maybe brew a specific pot for this. I would maybe put coffee in the coffee cup in the front too, as well. You could also add things like maybe a creamer or maybe some sugar cubes, something to talk about, what things you have with coffee in the morning. If you poured hot coffee in there, as you saw in the early shots when it was hot, you could have steam in there, which is kind of neat. You could make bubbles in there, which is kind of nice too. So there's some styling things to do. But however, I like the lighting in here. We look at the histogram in here, lots of information. We've got a highlight, we've got a shadow. We're right in the zone for being well exposed. There's a little bit of overexposure in here. But if you look at the numbers on this, even these hot areas, 246, 247, they're still printable, okay? And we've got a ton of information across here. We got blacks, we got all the things. We're looking at where this falls on the edge and everything. And now this next step is to get approval from the art director. Okay. Now, I love this composition. Actually, I really do like it, composition. It's really nice and it's simple and the light's kind of beautiful in there. What I want to do now, I particularly like the specular highlight at the top here. What I want to do now is get approval for the art director. So the art director says, I like this too. I really do. But I'm not sure where or how this is going to crop. I don't know if it's going to go square. I don't know if it's going to go, what's outside the frame? What do I want to do? Okay, so, I can go outside the frame. So luckily, I have a zoom lens here. So I'm at 400 now, so I'm just going to back off a tiny bit. It's going to change the focal point a tiniest bit, but I can back off to roughly 280. And let's see what it looks like. So it doesn't have this. It looks a little more lonely. But what it does is it allows the art director choice to go in there and do exactly what I just did like that to get the same shot, roughly. All right. They can take all of that cup if they wanted to. They could crop it here. Right? So this pulling back a tiny bit allows when it's a lot more, there's a fair bit of more depth of field, which is nice. But there is an optical change. This feels a little wider. This feels nice and tall and elegant. That's the difference in the optics. This is a different crop. You have to be aware of that. So when working with an art director or working on set, you maybe need to crop and style a little bigger than you expect. I think I've pulled back too far. Although I'm kind of aware that in the past, art director said, well, in case we need it, do we have all of that cup in the front in the shot? And they can say, well, no, or yes. It's important that that they have the choice to do it if they have it. For sure, I like this shot way better tight, so I'm going to go in tight and say, screw you, art director. They're going to hate me for it. but we're going to do it in tight. So best be aware of that, so that you often need more room to do stuff and pulling back. And so like if we walk that out, so that was at 280, and if we walk this out to, we are at 135. If we zoom in, it's moving because I touched the camera and fired it then. So the focus point's completely moved on this lens, so I don't like it as much. So I'm going to go into the closer. But you can see how the composition changes, everything. So even if we were to crop, like we're gone from a picture that is, this is why you want to get in close, because I wasted all that. You're going from a picture here that is now 9 by 14 inches at 300 DPI, or this one is full, this is about 14 by 24 inches at 300 DPI. This one is now, we're all the way down to 4 by 7 inches. So it's big, but it's still not cropped, or not the full size. So I'm going to go back to 400 and see where we go.
So where are you seeing the dimensions?
I'm seeing the dimensions in, you can see them. It's based on the recipe that it's chosen. So if you look at the crop, under preferences, I've told it to display crop. I've said to display show frames and show labels always when there's a crop in there. And that's the labels and the frame edges are the dimensions based on what your process recipe is here. So I have selected Adobe 1998 300D, 100% PSD, 16-bit TIFFs. So I'm actually making an image that at full size is 4,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels, or 13 by 13 by 20 inches. The crop I've made here, if you can see them here on the, can't see it when you're doing it. You can see it when you're using the crop tool. When the crop tool's open, the information that's displayed up at the top and on the left is the actual length of that side when it's exported.
So you're previewing it as the output, as what the size you're being asked for. So, yes. Okay. Yeah,
based on the output here. If I change my selected output to pixels to JPEG here, I got sRGB 1600 pixels on the long side. It's always going to make this final output as 1600 pixels here, and then it's going to go 1046 pixels that way. So if I choose another recipe here, which is my 100% JPEG, it's going to give me the same dimensions as my 100% Adobe PSD. But if I chose print high-res video one, that's designated differently. Or no, it's actually 300 by 100%. 300 DPI, so they're different, each one. So the long edge is going to be 40 centimeters. So it exports this one at 40 centimeters by 26 centimeters. Those are all set up for individual exports that I've used in the past. So anything that is displayed here shows me what it's going to look like on the final output. I'm previewing the colors, and I'm also previewing the size. So you have to be aware, you have to always make sure that you're selecting the output that you're going to use. And I always basically leave it on 100% Adobe 1998 at a PSD. That's the best quality, so that I know that when I crop this file, it's going to be 14 inches tall by 9.38 inches wide. So I can also, at this point, if I wanted to scale it, I can go like 200% bigger. Now this becomes 28.69 inches tall by 18.76 inches tall. So screw you, supersized Photoshop. I can do it here. But I always basically leave it at 100%. So you can actually scale images up in Capture One if you wanted to. It's better than doing it in Photoshop. Although this gigapixel thing is supposed to be pretty good. So that's the crop. I'm going to crop it a little bit. Maybe the 400 is a little too close to, yeah, because I don't have a lot of breathing room around this shot. Right here is a little bit of attention. So we're at 19 inches tall by 13 inches high. I still think it's pretty good. I'm going to do one option on this, okay? We are going to go, and I'm going to do this with a dark background to make it moody, okay? So how am I going to do that? I'm going to change the background, right? Okay, so let's go to the Studio Cam. Studio Cam. Studio cam. Okay, back to the studio cam. Okay, so we have all this space back here. So just to review, I'm this far back. Whoa! I'm pretty far away. So I'm like 10 feet from the set, okay? Because I have to be because of that lens. The background is here, okay? So there's our softbox in there. Also this room, right? So the white walls in this room are adding a fair bit of fill that's soft. That's nice. I have a lot of space back here. I could lie down back here. The reason is I want to have this in focus, but not that, okay? So my depth of field is covering that much of the shot. Bit of the muffin, maybe that's about it. It can then start to come all the way back to here. This is all out of focus. It doesn't matter that this seamless has got cracks in it or get texture. It's just like a gradual impression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Ontario Fishing Guy, because luckily on the side of this guy, there's a black card. Yay! And I have a stand already set up with a little funny arm and a clamp. I'm going to put this stand right here, like so. I'm going to put you down because I need 2 hands for this. Hold on. One, there. Okay, now you can see everything. Okay. I'm going to turn this guy off so you can actually see me setting it up. So there, basically I got my card here. I probably should clean it a little bit because it's been in the closet for a while. It's got some marks on it, but by having it all the way back here, I'm hopefully not going to see them. Let's try. I'm going to put it back here. Ta-da! And the barn doors on this one here are keeping the light off this, so it's not going to light. It's not going to get lit. It's not going to get lit. There's a little bit of light there. Maybe just bring it in a little bit there. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so I have Ontario Fish Guy as our backdrop. We have a fill card. We have our high key sort of extra light there to give us that nice little streaky light in there. This is all fill. This is going to be hopefully as dark as we can get it. And this is all stuff we don't see. So let's go over here. I'm going to put you down here. There. You safe? Don't fall. Okay. Now we're going to go back and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to, what are we going to do? We're going to mark this guy as our select because we like it, right? I'm going to mark this guy as our select and this guy as our option. I'm going to make it a yellow one. So those 2 are ready to go. I could throw these ones out. I'm going to throw them out. Bang, delete, delete, gone. They have just, I believe they've just gone to the trash. Yeah, so they're just in the session trash, which is where I want to leave them. Back to the capture folder. Now I'm going to take a picture. Let's take a picture. See what that black card looks like. I'm very close. No, I'm cropped. Crop, there we go. Go away, crop. Click, gone. Oh, so focus has shifted. By moving that lens, the focus has shifted. I've got to move it. So there, we got really drama. We can see, oh my God, how dirty this thing is. Wow, do I need to clean my coffee pot or what? Okay, refocus. Okay, so again, focusing on the same spot. There. This is a manual focus lens, so it's that old. It's kind of finicky. So now we've got that dramatic thing, and it's jet black. I have done nothing to it. I've just kept light off it. We're exactly the same lighting setup as this guy. You know, so those 2 are identical. We've just got it in black. So now I can see that I have to wash my coffee cup, my coffee maker, and get that better. Styling issues that were solved by being on against white have been unsolved by being against black. And we can see that we've got like jet black, and we could adjust the light into the muffin a bit, but everything's the same, so which is great. So, and that's just positioning that card back there, as you can see in the little picture. That card is about, you know, if you look at me, it's about 1.5 feet, 2 feet. I can walk in between here, and that distance is in order to keep it soft and out of focus, and not have to worry about lighting it. But I want to make it a little more interesting. So what I want to do is I want to put a graduated light on this. I don't have any more lights. That's it for LEDs and constant lights. I have the daylight, which is kind of filling in everything, but I don't want to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the studio camera on full so you can see. I'm going to turn. I'm just going to angle that that background over to see that. I mean, this is it. So there's skills. Whoa, kicking it doesn't help. It's about using the skills and experimenting and be willing to risk it a little bit and fool around and make a mistake, get better, things like that. This looks easy for me because you guys haven't seen the 25 years that have gone before it. I can know where to put this card and the distance because I've done it for 25 years. You guys won't know this because you haven't done it enough. You're going to learn by doing, okay? So don't worry about, oh my God, it looks so easy for him. Why am I struggling? You're supposed to struggle. It's hard. This isn't easy. This is 25 years of experience. It's like when you go to a YouTube channel and you watch how-to video, how to, create a clipping path in Photoshop. And the guy does, you take this and you press on that, and he does it in like seconds and it's all done. And you're struggling with it all the time. Well, he or she has done it for years. They've also edited it on Photoshop or edited it in YouTube so that you don't see I pressed the wrong button. Sorry about that, guys. No, you're seeing an edited version. You're also seeing an edited version here. This is 25 years in the making, this shot. So it took me a long time to get to this point, and it'll take you maybe less because you're smarter than me, most likely. I had been shooting for 5 or 6 years, I think, when I got a job to shoot a Burke's catalog, which is in Canada is a high-end jewelers like Tiffany's. I was one of 5 or 6 photographers in the studio shooting it at the same time because it was a huge job. And we're working for a really, really good art director. And they came on board. It was going around checking everybody's work. And, I was in the room with probably the best shooters of jewelry in the country. And I was like, this is great. I was shooting vases and really expensive watches, so a $50,000 Rolex. And I thought to myself, wow, that would pay for my debt right away. This is great. I should take this watch. So it was intimidating. And the art director came over to me, and he'd known me for 5 or 6 years as well. I've been working for him on and off on various jobs, and he came to me and said, "Oh, these are looking good. Wow, Andrew, you're really getting it. You're starting to really get it." And I was like, thank you, Jerry. That was really nice of you. And I was mildly offended. I was mildly offended at that moment. It's like, boy, I've been working for 6 years for you. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. But he was right. I went away that night and I said, you know what? He's right, because 5 years ago, I was really, really green. And I was just, I'm so much better now. I'm so much better now from 5 years of experience and 5 years of shooting with various things and 5 years of seeing through the camera and 5 years of shooting stuff on white and, shooting watches and everything else. And maybe he is right. And I knew it. I knew it right then and there that he was right. I had improved a hell of a lot over 5 years. So this stuff takes time. So this shot looks easy and simple because it's been 25 years in the making. So let's do this. Let's get a gradient on this backdrop. I'm going to rotate this a tiny bit to get a little bit of light, and I'm going to peel off a little bit of light with the barn doors to hit the card here. So let's go see what that looks like. 25 years in the making. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? It better. Now that I've had that talk, it better fucking work. Oh, no. Oh, I didn't do that. I don't want to do that. I hate this about Capture One. Okay, so warning to you guys. Capture One, Command L or Command K fires the camera, which is great. but Command L turns every setting into automatic, and it is horrible. So be careful. Don't accidentally hit Command L. Ta-da! Oh, see, it would help. Now I have the yin and yang, and I got to move it over. I'm going to move it over because I'm just getting the edge of it. Okay, that's okay. See, you learn some. 25 years in the making, and I screw up still. Ta-da! Now I have a little bit of gradient. Now it looks like techno coffee. So yeah, that's pretty good. Delete this guy. Don't want to show that to the art director. So we have this one, and I'm going to go for this guy. So we have 3 versions now. Woo, come back. I want to check in on each one. I want to stop. Okay, well, the one, my favorite is still the white one. My next one, like, yeah, clearly I have to do some styling, some cleaning. Now, this is something that you couldn't do in Photoshop and you couldn't do in Capture One, is get rid of this sort of these lines and stuff on this glass that has to be cleaned manually. So this is where planning and consideration comes into to effect. Now the backdrop here, it's not bad. We're starting to see, you can see some of the texture back there, right? Oh, there's the little bump. You can just see some of the texture in the thing because it's getting lit now. I'm gonna pull it back physically so that it gets more out of focus and see where it goes. It's gonna get a little darker because it's gonna lose some of this light that's hitting it, but we'll see where it goes. See, it's a lot of steps back and forth, right? Okay, so that, I like that gradient better. Don't you guys? Yeah? You're my peanut gallery, come on. I like it better. However, okay, so this is it. So like, this is color balance 101. So we have on this one, this nice little blue light coming in and hitting it there. The background's kind of warm because it's direct sun and it's going through warm paper. So that's kind of warm. I've done a color balance, so I'm liking that. On the foreground, this is actually not half bad, out of focus. There's the one to focus, let's delete the out of focus one. So there's our next option. Dark, rich, kind of nice, a little bit of cool light in there, I don't mind, or down here, I don't mind. I do mind it here because it's hitting the side and the background doesn't look black or gray, it looks blue, okay? So let's just get in there. I'm gonna do a color card, and this is about checking in. So to make sure that, because I've changed lots of lighting and things like that, maybe I wanna check in and see if the color is accurate. So I'm gonna put my color card back in. And it's gonna be facing the camera towards it, hitting the light, the main light that's hitting my main subject next to it. Command K, not Command L. There, and okay, my exposure is good because I can see separation between the top 2 and the bottom 2, which is good. It's a little dark, but I kind of like it dark and moody. That's okay. I want to grab my eyedropper up here, neutralize it, bang. Go Command Z, pretty good. It's not half bad. So it's actually pretty accurate. But what I want to do is I want to adjust the color balance on the background. So there's a couple ways to do that. I could shoot another color balance because I want to cool down. I could put a filter on that light, but that would affect the light on the foreground too. But what I want to do, I'm going to get into Capture One magic, and I would do this on set too. Create an adjustment layer. And what is it easy? Is it easier to paint this one in or to erase it out? It may be easier to paint this one in because you could do a fill layer like this, create a filled layer, and then just go in there and inside that adjustment layer and call it, I'm gonna call it BG1, BG1 color shift. And I could, it's a fill layer, right? So hit M, I should see it. No, it's not a filled layer. I'm gonna fill it. Fill mask. There, okay, so there it is, filled. And now I'm gonna take color balance and I'm gonna, no, I'm not gonna take, I'm gonna take dynamic range. I'm going to go to color editor. No, I'm going to go to white balance, and I can warm that up. But that's warming up the whole shot, right? So I can also, then I can brush that out of the foreground. Do I have auto mask on, and then go. That's one way of doing it, right? Just kind of think about it. I'll take it out of that. And it's such a subtle thing. I'm like this stuff I do on set, and then I'll finesse and make prettier in after on post. So you don't see much of it in there, but you can see that it's warmer. And I would go into this mask now, and I would go and I would brush it in, hitting Command B, and then I would soften it a little bit and make it a little smaller, and then maybe bigger than that, and then just brush the mask into here. See, and then the auto mask, and this is what I might not do this necessarily on set, but I would put the basic mask on set and then finesse it in post. See, there we go. Okay, nice and tight. Erase this edge. This auto brush is great. It means I pretty much don't use Photoshop at all anymore. And I want to brush this in. Zap. So if Raf hasn't showed you this tool, I'm pretty sure he has, that if you place an edge line between the central dot and the outside edge, and you brush across it, the software automatically detects the contrast between the center and the outside, and then drops a line, fills in the mask to that point. You get some issues around this sort of stuff, but in the end, it's pretty good. So I would challenge you to see any issues with that. So there, I've warmed it up a little bit. I can also, on that same mask, or I can actually duplicate that mask and be smarter, would be to duplicate this mask. Where is it? Convert. No, I have to go new mask, and then I go copy from that one there. And so that's the mask again. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add to that, I'm gonna add an exposure. I can make it lighter if I wanted to, or I can make it darker, get really dramatic. And then I'd have to go in and brush it out of this guy. I said erase, there. Woo. Brush it out of that, and brush it out of that. So there, that's getting kind of dramatic. So we have multiple versions now. We can do one that is light, one that is dark. There's maybe some issues with the mask in there. Or we can one that has a color balance shift as well. So this is all about fine tuning it. However, the base shots, this guy if I wanted to, and this guy, and then this guy, I now have 4 versions out of this one set. Clearly, my styling is not as good as it could be. Things that I don't like in the styling. Whoa, let's clear all those. Where is it? Annotations. Clear. Continue. Okay, so the things I don't like in here in terms of styling. This is I like the light, I like the exposure, I like our variations in crop that we have, which is great. Things I don't like is this gap in here. Need to put something there. This crap on the coffee maker. The color of this guy, the color in here. Needs to be darker. I might want to put a thing here. I would need to put coffee into here. So it needs to be in there too. Things like that. Those are the things that I would change on this shot, other than the lighting, like when to clean that up, clean this up, stuff like that. And then I would ready to export it. So the styling is really important. That becomes much more important looking forward into second year, where we ask you to do a lot of styling, a lot of planning, a lot of pre-production books, even to the point of making a lighting diagram, things like that. These are things that you start to look for. This is a really simple shot. The distance is really important. This, you can see how big that distance is. I can walk behind the set and get to things. The background is far enough back that it's out of focus completely. Things like that are really good to note. Then you can go, once you've got the lighting and the camera set up, the composition's all the next thing you worry about, and then the styling is the next thing you worry about from there. So these are obviously styling edits. Like, I need to fill that gap. What would you fill it with? Well, the muffin would be like maybe a piece of butter. That would get some color in there, or maybe a little dollop of jam, or you just close it up by moving this over. Although you want to keep it not looking like such a big clump. Something like that would be nice. Coffee in here, lumps of sugar maybe. Although maybe you want to keep it simple and quiet too, right? So cleaning up this thing, so obviously I need to get some CLR onto this, or Windex to clean it. Other than that, it's ready to go. So once they're ready to go, I've got my hero, which is marked in green. I have a color card that I'm going to keep in reserve here that's ready to go. I want to mark all my heroes. So there's a hero and there's a pulled back option. I'm not going to do a pulled back option for these guys. I'm going to make these guys heroes as well. This one or this one. I like this darker one better there. And I have a color card in reserve for that. I can maybe mark both color cards in blue so they'll stick together. Where's my other color card? Oh, I didn't. I got that guy way at the beginning, right? Actually, it probably wouldn't be really accurate. I'm going to stick to that last one as my only color card. So then I would move all the things to go color tag, and then all jump to the top. There. Hero, hero, hero. Option. And then we start. And then what I can do, now I'm really reluctant to empty out my capture folder, but for the sake of cleaning up and keeping our files small, I will say that Raf has told us, and you should do it too. We're just going to select all of these guys and send them to the trash. Bye-bye, bang. They went that way because I edited selected. If I hadn't checked this off, it would look like that. I'd only delete the first one. Edited, selected, delete, or hits them all. So now I have my selects. They're already EIPs, okay? That's important because I don't want to have to convert them later. I set it up so that my capture one in preferences, and I think it's in, where is it? It's in image, pack as EIP when importing, pack as EIP and captured. They're already there. The reason I do that is because I do a lot of work at other people's studios, and I want to take the files that I shoot home, but I don't want to have to take the whole session. So I put them as EIPs already, so they have all the settings that I need when I take them home and edit them. So that's done. So these are EIPs. I have in the trash all the things that I threw out. Under normal circumstances in a studio, I wouldn't throw them out. I wouldn't empty the trash. However, because we are working in a very environment where we're cramped for space on servers and stuff, and it takes a while to get things up and down, I would go into, for us to ship to me, Raf and I will go to, where is it? Export images, import images. Catalog save temps. CF, empty session trash. So that will then get rid of them altogether. If I click on that, it'll delete all the ones from the trash and it'll go away. In fact, I'll do that now. Bye-bye. Delete from disk. Oh, I really don't want to do this, but I'm gonna have to. There it goes. Okay. I like to keep all my shots around because, you know, some of them might have backgrounds that I need to put into another one. It's thinking that post-production workflow, I have to manage that on set. So I have to supply my post-production people, because I personally hate using Photoshop, or for you guys, you have to supply yourself with the materials to build the shot in post-production. The argument is, well, you got to do it on set. Yes, you got to do it on set because it looks better when it's done on set. However, what happens if you need a shot, if the art director goes, hey, do you have a shot without the muffin? Because we're not selling muffins anymore. you're going to have to go, oh, yeah, I did that. We did that earlier, right? We'll just take the background from that shot and put it into this one. And that happens all the time. Every place I've worked. I once worked at a studio that we were shooting Sears from. We shot a Sears catalog that had a cover for the Wish book, the big, Christmas book that you used to get as a kid. We shot a cover which had 12 people on the cover in different versions of, Christmas festive clothing. The studio changed that shot so that when the final went out, they didn't reshoot everything. They only shot individual people again. That the clothing had changed on everybody in different positions. The faces had changed in different positions. That replaced every single person on that first shot with a different person. I think they did it 17 times. That's how many times we're not selling that anymore. Can we put another sweater on that model? Yeah, okay. And they did this over a period of 2 months. So obviously they had to keep the set around, and every stand in that position, pop, that's how it goes. The art director just can just say that, and you got to do it. I shot something for Home Depot, which we shot patio furniture outside on a patio, and we propped it. We had we had a patio rug, we had coffee table, chairs, table, everything, lamps, plants, everything, all there. And we send it to the client. It's just about to go to approval, and the client goes, "We're not selling that rug. We're not selling that anymore. It's not in the SKU. Can you take it out? We can put. In fact, we're selling this one." And they gave it as a sample. So they gave us a completely different rug. This set was shot on location months ago. We couldn't go and redo it. So what we had to do is we had to fake the patio surface, put the new carpet down on it, and we didn't even have the furniture to put on top of it. We just shot the rug at the right angle, and then had the post-production people, put the rug underneath all the furniture in the shot. That was a challenge, considering the furniture was wicker and you saw through everything. So that happens all the time. You have to be prepared for that. In this school environment where we were limited by server space, yes, get rid of your trashes. But in general aspect, I would say no. Make sure that you have everything together and ready to go. So just in case. So that's ready to go. So now I want to export it to according the way we want to. So I'm going to choose the recipe that works for my client, which is me. So I'm going to say I need an Adobe 1998 PSD 16-bit TIFF. I do not need the 16-bit, the sRGB. I do not need green eggs and ham. I do not eat them, Sam I am. So PSD 16-bit Adobe 1998 fixed. Output location, I'm going to confirm that it's going to go to the output. Yep, see, there's my session, P3 Waller Andrew A4 _ output. Why did I put that underscore there? This is why. Okay, so I have, these are my heroes. These are my options. Okay, so starting here is my hero. Then I have A13113, A1138. That doesn't mean anything to my client. When I want to send it to my client, I want to call this is shot 1. I want to shot 1 there. Okay, now that's shot 1. That underscore makes it easier for me to edit the name. If I click on the name, now I'm going to copy this, click on it, and copy it down here. And this is what you can do. This is shot 2. Shot 2. There we go. And then you're going to go shot 2's there, and we're going to go here, shot. I don't need the stars. Goodbye. Click on that, drag, delete, paste, delete the 2, put a 3. Okay, and then shot 2, 3, got 1, 2, 3, and this is going to be shot 4. Clicking on the name, select the back bit without the space, and then go paste, and then delete the 1 and put 4. There, and this guy I'm going to put shot. Going to delete it, paste the shot in there. I'm going to cut CC for color card. There you go. And now they're all EIPs. They're ready. They're renamed exactly how my client, me, wants to see them. I got shot 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you send me in the assignment, it's going to be shot 1 and then shot 2. therefore I'll know which one is the short focus and which one is the stacked focus, other than just looking at it, because they have to name it, because you're going to send it to some idiot client like me, and I'm going to go, which one is the stacked focus? Which is the short focus? I don't get it. Can you please resend it? And then that's frustrating. So, and you don't want to get frustrated at your clients. I'm going to leave the annotations in there because I want to put a happy face on here. Yay! Because he's a nice man. So there we go. He's non-gender specific coffee pot. So there we go. I sometimes draw cats. These are my cats. Not very good cats. There you go. And so I'm leaving that in because when I look at my recipe, I go for, is it going to ignore the crop? The reason I do that is because I want to give the art director the full size, but because I'm important and I know that I'm exporting it to me, the client, I want to see your cropped image. I'm going to say respect the crop. I'm going to put no output sharpening on there. Raf and I will argue about that. That's up to him. He's better at post-production than me, for sure. Metadata, we're going to leave all there. I'm going to leave annotations as a layer. That's really important because that means that I now have retouching notes and a cat and a face. So for my retoucher to see, and he'll laugh, or she'll laugh. She. So she'll laugh and she'll go, another cat. So she calls them dead cats. I don't think that cat looks dead. Do you think that cat looks dead? So then it's going to the watermark. No file. It's going to a subfolder for final selects. I'm going to check on output naming. Nothing. It's just going to be the name. That's fine. That's where it needs to go. Output subfolder. Good. Everything's good. Basic. Fine. Now I can hit process. I'm going to select them all. Command A gets them all there. Whoa. Where'd you go? Wow. Look at that. It crashed. Is that a dangerous thing? No. This Capture One, why would it crash? I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't like me. Because Capture One remembers where it was set. So all those things are back here. And I just want to go back and confirm that the output stuff is ready to go. Yep, so all is there. The names are all done. So I'm going to select them all. And now I'm just going to go process recipes. Yep, now I'm just going to hit process. And there we go. That's in the queue there. They're exporting. That's done. One at a time, they're pumping themselves out, which is great. And then I can not close this, I can shrink that, and then I can go over here. I go to pictures, and I go to P3, and this is what I want to see from you guys. And this is the folder structure that we talked about. So the standard Capture One folder structure, the reason it's standard is because they spent a lot of time trying to figure out what would be best for photographers. Oh, they're opening in Photoshop too, which is good-ish. And as you can see, so there's our annotations, right? Let them all come in. My poor computer is all freaking out. So there's our face-ish. So the annotations are coming in. That can be intimidating. However, we just turn that off, right? It's a layer. We can delete it. There's our guy and our cat. It's just an editing layer. Those are just instructions for your editor to go. So, fix this, fix this, fix that line, get the cat off the thing, have a good laugh. Those are just can be gone. You can delete that layer now, and the client will never see it, or the post-production will keep it there so they can see it. So if we go to the Finder, this is the folder structure. The folder structure that this is set up for, Capture One has spent a lot of time thinking about it, figuring it out. It has worked well for many years. So keeping this structure is good. So capture, output, session. Okay, that's the session. You don't want to lose that. That's the important thing for Raf and I. Selects, we don't use it very often. Trash is now empty. All we have is stuff in the capture folder, 4 shots, and then final selects, stuff in the output folder. Good to go. I would never give my client a capture folder. 1, they wouldn't know what to do with it. And 2, I don't want to ever give them my raw files. And you should never too, but we're friends. You and I, we're friends. So you can give me your. It's okay. I know it's scary. I will look after them. I'll give them back. I swear to God. Okay, so last four. Yeah, don't worry. I'll borrow everybody's car. It'll be fine. So that's it. So that's a shoot from start to finish, missing the first 25 years of getting good. If I'm good, I don't know.